What's up, glorious, glorified community? Hope you guys are well. This is a high demand tutorial that everyone has been requesting for basically the ability to learn and work out the workflow that allows you to download images from Glorify and then subsequently upload that onto your most preferred web builder. So I'm going to be using WordPress, using the Elementor plugin on WordPress for this tutorial, but the principles are still the same. So while we're waiting, we're going to wait for people to trickle in and we will get started. Now, just before I continue, I'd love to hear from you guys. Just drop in the comment section right now if you can hear and see me clearly. This is being broadcasted on Facebook, the community, and on YouTube at the same time. So I want to make sure everyone can hear and see me clearly with no issues. Hey, what's up, Jeroen? Jeroen, I believe that is. Richard, what's up, man? Greg, how you doing? I want to make sure everyone can hear. Okay, perfect. People can hear and see clearly. So let us get kick-started. Let me first make sure I'm sharing my screen. Right, let me pick out one of these layouts. Half screen. No. Okay, cool. There we go. Let's just make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, I think that works for me. I think we can position this video where I like. Cool. Okay, that works for me. All right, guys, let's get kick started. So for those who weren't here last week, did you guys? Hopefully, you guys caught up on the webinar we did last week. Well, basically, if you haven't watched it, we went through the process of being able to use Glorify to create your top fold website structure or your first banner, and then subsequently the other sections of your website. Now, of course, doing it on Glorify, it's not a CSS app. It's not a web application. It doesn't export to CSS or HTML. We are thinking about working that feature into the product, but however, that's not what it supports right now. Just like any other designer tool, it exports in image formats, PDF, SVG, JPEG. You guys know that. Now, however, with any the workflow for web design is always the same. You always want to start from a design concept using a design tool before you bring it onto web, because if you start doing it directly on web, you have less freedom on web, and it will really disrupt your flow on coming up with a design that you're happy with. So it's better to mock up the website and the entire design A to Z on a graphics tool just like Glorify before then bringing that onto your web builder, whether it's WordPress, Shopify, etc. Now, let's first go through some of these important principles. Now, as you can see here is a banner that we designed last week. It was based on one of my favorite products, Tenzing, and we looked at their website as a kind of reference point and tried to improve it. And so here's the top fold design with the messaging and the product. And then we also added a kind of shop banner as well. So, not necessarily a banner, but a section of the website where you can have all these call to actions, the sign up form, etc. Now, I hope that we have time in this webinar to at least cover the top fold. If we have more time, then we'll hopefully cover both. Now, before I get into that, let me just go into the website anatomy, which is really important for you guys to know so you can create great responsive websites. Websites are structured as so. You have the body, which is kind of the canvas of the website. You don't really notice the body as much. It's what's important about the body is that it contains sections, containers, and content. You don't usually see the body of a website, because there's content being put on the website, right? So the body is your kind of blank canvas to start on. Now, when you have a body on your website, you then throw in a section, which is a full width section compartment of where your contents can go into. And the content structure inside your section is divided into a few parts. You have your container, and inside the container, you put your content, images, graphics, widgets, text, etc. So this is the typical structure of a responsive website. Okay, and this is the same structure, build, anatomy that you see across, to be honest, all the web building tools, right? They might name it slightly differently, but generally you'll find body, section, container, content. And sometimes these terms slightly change between web builder to web builder. Let's go into, for example, another version of this. Now, this is a single column web structure where you have one container and then the contents inside that container. But you can also have a structure where you have a container, and inside that container you have kind of sub containers called columns, so you can structure and add more layouts and have basically different sections, right? So you have different columns, and that will structure your overall layout, and inside those columns you add layout. So you can see the difference. So here the container has columns, inside the columns there's content, or you get rid of the columns altogether and just have content inside the container. Okay, that's usually how the anatomy is built out. Now, what also is really important for you to understand is that every website is built on, within a section, is built into margins and paddings. Every single part, whether it's the section, the container, the column, the content, will have these values, margin and padding. Now, the best way to understand it is this diagram in the context of this container. Okay, we're only talking about this container over here. The margin of this container is what's outside of the object. Basically the margin, the gap that's outside of the object. Padding is kind of the breathing room inside of the object, right? On the inner parts, or the inner part of the container of the object, right? All objects are kind of contained into a block. So when you consider this container as a block, you have the outside and the inside. And as you increase padding, then whatever's inside the container starts to have more and more breathing room, right? And if you decrease it, it kind of does this, as you can see over here. As you increase, if you decrease padding, it starts to open up. If you increase padding, it starts to go like that, right? Similarly, if you decrease margin, it'll go like this. But if you increase margin, it goes like that, right? So that is your basic anatomy for a website. Now, with that being said, we can go ahead and start creating the website. Now, first things first, we need to learn how to download your content from your design, right? Of course, you're not going to download certain elements like buttons and stuff because it's a flat image. You can use the web builder to create the buttons, but I'm still going to download this because this is a great reference point for me to kind of map out what this website is going to look like. Now, I can do this in two ways. I can actually just keep this in another tab, or I can actually download the image. I prefer to just keep this on the other tab and do it visually rather than upload it onto my website. I feel that gets kind of messy. So I'll show you. There's two different ways, and you got to pick what's comfortable, right? So I'm going to do the reference method where I'm going to keep looking back to this website, this image, and building my site as I go along. Now, first things first, we got to download the components. So starting with the can. So I'm going to go into this banner. I duplicated a blank page. I'm going to go into this blank banner and copy paste. And I want to resize this so that it is a bit more in line with this can. Now, once I'm selecting the can, it's, I'm going to give it about a 600 by 1000 pixels ratio. And then I shall resize to the current canvas. Now, this is kind of more the ratio of the can itself. And I want to give a bit of room, as you can see, the shadow area. So I don't want to cut the shadow because you'll get this sharp cut where you see the shadow is at the bottom. So I'm going to kind of give it a bit of breathing room so that we have this smooth flow at the bottom there. And then next up, we'll duplicate this banner and we'll get rid of all the content and just download the background, right? So here we go. You can download that as a JPEG. Now you can do a times 1.5, I recommend, for a background. I mean, this is a 1080p. Your websites usually, when you work on most computers, it'll be 1080p or 1440 with, if you're working on a Mac. despite this, it's always better to have a bigger background than a smaller one because you're getting more and more, 4K resolutions and stuff like that. So I'd go for the 1.5, and these images will come to about 900 kilobytes in space. Of course, it's not super optimized, but it's not hard for you to find a supporting tool online free to compress those images and get the retain quality and maintain it. I think there's tiny JPEG, tiny PNG. There's a bunch of these apps online. Hopefully soon we will integrate it with Glorify as well. Now I've got my background for the can. I want to download it in a transparent PNG, and I've got that one. So as you can see here, it is. Well, I'm kind of. Let me just. There we go. So this is the PNG just downloaded. And now I also want to make sure I've got the logo. But in fact, I'll just get the logo from the Tenzing website. Here's the logo. So save that image. Put that on the desktop. Cool. Now we've got our content, right? We don't, like I said, we don't need to download the responsive elements. We don't need the text because we're going to do that directly on the website, and we're going to use this design as a reference to position everything. So let's go into Elementor. Okay, so like I said, we're using WordPress. Elementor is probably one of the most popular web builders in the WordPress ecosystem. There's loads of them out there, and then of course outside of WordPress, there's tons and dozens of different solutions. Like I said, the anatomy and the basic structure is always the same. So you're going to start to see this now as I start to build things, build the website. I'm just going to go into the comments section, and I'd like to encourage people as I'm building, make sure you guys, ask me any questions, ask me any concerns, or even throw in your thoughts of what build. I'd love to know what web builders you're using, so we understand what's your particular use case, so we can cater this content as much as possible for you guys, and any kind of other struggles and pain points that you're facing. Okay, with that said, we'll continue on Elementor. Okay, so here's Elementor. This is your body. As I was saying, remember the body. Let me go back to this. Your body is this blank canvas. I'm going to now add my first structure, right? Or section, actually. I'm going to start with a 1-column section because I don't need 2 columns. And I want to, inside this section, I want to first basically fix or create the properties and the settings so that it's super optimum. How do I do this? Now, I like to work on a 1000 by 200 width content width structure. Now, there's so many different content width structures, but I don't ever want to go full width. I want to make sure my section, so this section is always 1200 width maintained, right? Now, what that means is whatever's all the contents between that will kind of be the maximum width it'll go wide to is 1200. And so on top of that, I want to make sure that we have about 30 pixels padding on this section. Now, the reason I'm doing this stuff is because let me first add some content. So here's my section, and in the middle is my container, right? So again, going to this, I'm now looking at my container, this part here. Inside my container, I'm going to start to now add columns, right? So in Elementor, it's called inner section. They don't call their sections inner containers. They call their containers columns. So like I said earlier, these terms keep changing and they're different from platform to platform. So instead of container, it's called columns. Now inside here, I've got my single column, and inside here, I've got 2 other columns that I'm going to keep duplicating. Because I want to kind of mimic this menu that I have on this design. And you can see here, I have roughly about 1, 2. We'll consider these menu items as 1 column. So let's consider the logo and this font 1 column. The 3 menus as 1 column, and the buy and CTAs as another. So this 1, 2, 3 columns, right? Let's go to and make sure we have 3. I made 1 too many, so I'm going to right click and delete that. So I've got 3 columns here now. So this is my basic structure. Now, on top of that, we've got another another container below this menu, which is, I would say, 3 columns, 1, 2, 3, right? So let's do that too. And so I'm going to then duplicate this. So we can just simply duplicate this part here. So here's my, okay, so here's my section, and here is my inner section, you call it in Elementor. So I've got two inner sections with 3 columns inside. Okay, so sometimes in Elementor, for some reason, they always add this natural padding. You can see all this space between these boxes. I like to get rid of that by going to padding, going -1 and then 0, because I always feel that Elementor adds a bit too much padding as by default, and we don't need that much padding. So that's going to be very helpful. Now, here is the exciting part. We're going to start adding some content. So let's start by adding the logo over here. I'm going to add an image box. So go to the components, add image. And then we'll add text for the, so look, so image, text, image, text, and I would say icon button. So let's just add these components and we'll start designing it out in a moment. So image, text, and text, and we can basically duplicate these. Well, we'll duplicate these afterwards once I've got my first font ready. And then we'll add icon. I'm going to just throw in my elements in here first. And we can also add the button, right? So oh, here's my core components. So in each column, I've got my components, and obviously I have to now start getting it designed. Now, remember, when I added this section, what was really important is I did 2 things. I added 1,200 width, and I also added 30 pixel padding. Why this is important is because if I now decrease this to tablet, there'll always be 30 pixels in between the margins, right? So you'll never have like the content stuck to the sides, right? So if you look at this, there's always this responsiveness of this beautiful margin, breathing room around your content. However, if you don't have padding, it'll look like this, which let me show you. Go to 0, and then you go to mobile. It's going to look really tight on the sides, and that just doesn't look good, right? So always make sure you go to your desktop, and on the desktop level, add your padding, right? And if you add anything on desktop, it'll translate over to your tablet, mobile, etc., right? So let's go through that. Now, let's first add the logo here. I'm going to click this image. I am going to go to content, and I'm going to click choose image. I'll go to upload files, and let's find my nice little logo file from courtesy of Tenzing. Okay, so there we go. So that's been done. Now, obviously, this is too big. I'm going to scale this down using the width around that much is around the same size, as you can see. And I'm also going to move this to the left alignment, and I'm going to go to advanced and go positioning with, I'm going to make it inline. What inline does is, sorry, I'm going to make it, inline. What inline does is basically removes the responsiveness on the right side. So let me see, go to inline, fixed. Actually, wait a minute, full width, custom, default, custom, inline, and then make the font as well inline. So this is what will kind of make it come together. I think the width is too big at the moment. That's why the inline isn't working. So let me do it as custom, full, and okay, and there seems to be a lot of margin on the right side, and I don't want that. Positioning. Unless this logo's got space. No, it doesn't have space on the right, so that's a bit strange why that's doing that. Absolute. So absolute won't work. We've got to go to default. And anyway, so let's do the rest of this first. Natural energy from plants. All caps as well. So what we can do is click this, go to typography, style, uppercase. And what we can do is lower the size, right? And we can make a space over here. What I can do is just remove some padding on the right side because there just seems to be a lot of padding on the right for no reason. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to go minus margin and bring that over. So there we go. About 160 makes sense to me. Alignment's fine. Max width. Yeah, all that's fine. Cool. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Next up, I want to reduce the margin on the bottom so we can center. Actually, that's not going to help. Let me just remove that. There we go. Center that up. Add about 5 pixels on the top or 4 pixels on the top. There we go. So that part is done. And then let's do shop ingredient story. So shop first. In fact, what I'll do is just duplicate this and use the same font and delete that just for consistency. Shop. Okay, and let's duplicate this and call this, what is the next one? Shop ingredient story, right? So ingredients story. And we got the buy button now. So let's do this. We'll structure this in a moment, but let's go get the buy button. So cart. Okay, so we can do cart add, or just the cart in general. And let's go to advanced here as well. Make this inline. Not so basically removes the full width, so it closes the gap or the margin of this object. Same for the button. So position, width, inline. Now it's going to be stuck together. Obviously, we don't want that, but what we do want is to go into this little container, this gray icon here, and make vertical align middle, so everything's centered up. We can do the same here. I think that's where we were lacking in earlier. In fact, if I remove this top now, it should be centered. There we go. So that helps. And we'll do the same here. Go to a vertical line middle. So everything's now in the vertical axis centered up. Now we've got to add some margin on each of these. One way I could do this is simply go here and, sorry, for the menu items at least, is go to space around, space evenly, right? Or space around, but it's not doing it. Let me do space around, space between, space around, space evenly. Okay, so this is not necessarily working. Oh, that's because I'm doing the wrong options. There we go. Horizontal axis, space around evenly. This needs to be again in the middle, and that maintains that. But just in case, you know, if the screen size becomes smaller or whatever happens, I'm still going to add I'm going to add 10 pixels padding for each of these items. So no matter what happens, there'll always be a safety net of 10 pixels around these menu items. So in case the screen squeezes, there'll be 10 pixels between them. So this is kind of the 10 pixels of safety net. And I'm going to do the same for that. Add 10 pixels there and add 10 pixels here. But we're going to move this on the horizontal axis and move it to the end. So it goes to the far right. I'm going to then click this icon and scale this thing down because it's way too big. Yeah, so around that much is much more appropriate. I feel that it's got, you know, sometimes the anatomy of objects is a bit weird, like this icon, because of the kind of image. There's a lot of margin on the bottom, so I want to by eye reduce the margin on the bottom so it's a bit more even. And then over here, what I'm going to do is start to add my call to action. So first, change the color of the normal background color to black. And the font can be, well, it's got to be, if I'm not mistaken, what was the call to action? Buy now, right? So buy now. So that is pretty much, you know, what we needed. There's some, okay, now to make this kind of color, you do need some CSS, and you can get these codes everywhere. Basically, you just got to add some kind of code in this area here to make sure that from plants becomes a different color. I'm going to skip that for now. If we have time, we can do it later. It's a bit more complicated, but not that complicated. You don't need to know tech. You just got to find the code from somewhere else for dual color text, right? Okay, so let's do the rest of this. Now, let's see how this looks on the wide screen. So this is how it looks at the moment. I still feel these kind of fonts a bit too bold compared to what was originally done. So I'm just going to perfect that a little bit better. Close that. I don't know why the layers panel was open. Okay, move that. There we go. And go here. And let's make this weight about 500. Or because I don't want it to be overwhelm the logo and stuff like that. I think that's unnecessary. We do want it somewhat, and I think this font is a bit too big, so we can make it about 14, I would say. And we can do it for one font, and then we can copy the style to the others. So 600 weight, right click, copy, right click, paste, and then if you know the keyboard shortcut, you just click it and then paste, and then you can get the style that you want. That looks much better, as you can see. This is quite, a squeezed out website. I do like those kind of layouts, but some people prefer not having as much margins on the side. I think it's great for content reading, and a lot of websites that are built out with this much margin on the side, I feel is really optimized for for conversion and being able to consume the content easily. However, aesthetically, a lot of people do like full width. That's entirely up to you. The way you can just change it is simply go to the box and increase, maybe this to about 500 and then or more, and then you'll see that it starts to increase as well. Or even you can go to full width and see what that looks like. Okay, so there's a lot of padding on this side, I think, on the left and right, but as you know, oh yeah, there we go. So there's plenty of padding here. Yeah, for some reason, let me see what's going on over here. There's an extra 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's see, why is there, okay, yeah, there's too much padding on the sides here. And this one, boom. Column width, 100%. Box 1,200. If you reduce it, it squeezes up. If you increase it, it goes up, right? So that is the idea. Okay, 1,200. Cool. Let's go down to the rest of the content. We've got now the can and the background. So let's just quickly add the background first. Click the section. On the section level, we'll go to style. We'll go to advance and go to style and go to background overlay, or even background, sorry. And we can add the image over here, not a slideshow, not a video, gradient, slideshow, hover. I guess the best way to do it is just add, okay, actually go to classic and then go to image here. And let's go in and add that background. Add that in. Now, obviously, you won't be able to see everything yet, but what we could do is just at least make sure it's positioned. I would put it center, top center is the best way, so that we can always make sure that it's aligned properly. Attachment scroll fixed. We can do fixed, otherwise it's going to be kind of, I think, parallax. And no repeat. Size cover, so that it basically covers the entire website. So that's starting to look good. Now we can start to add the can and everything else. So very simple. What's remaining is just the can. So what we're going to do is go to elements, add the image in the middle, click, choose upload. Here's my can that I added, that I downloaded earlier. Boom, your website is almost done already, right? So there's that, and I'm going to duplicate this title. Go over here. What we're going to go is go to this little section here. Make sure on vertical line we're middled. And then what we can do is just right click, copy. Here we go. And of course, we're looking at the font size of 100 plus. So let's go into this and go to style, typography. Okay, so that's the pixel ratio. We want to go down to a bit lower than that. Yeah, around there. And cool. And over here, what we want to do is tighten up this area. I think, look, there's a lot of margin on this image. So I'd go to advanced and go to -10, or even, in fact, minus around 50 pixels. So what I'm trying to do is tighten up this gap on the side. 100, there we go, and minus 100 here as well. That's the bottom, sorry. Minus 100 here. So now we've got the tighten edges, and now all we got to do is go to this and reduce the width of this image. So in fact, this needs to be even further. So let's do 500. Okay, that's making it too big. 200 and 200 here, right? And percentage. Actually, let's go on pixels. Keep it to pixels. Reduce the size about 300 pixels wide, and then go. Then let's do a minus business. 500. Ooh, that's too much. 400. There we go. 400 there. Okay, so now it's being pulled apart. Let's try the padding. Minus. Okay, let's go to 0. But that's not going to work either. Okay, so that's fine. What we could do is instead use minus values on the text. So we'll go minus right. Sometimes the stuff you just got to experiment until you get it right, because it won't always necessarily go to plan. That's what is generally the rule. So here, okay, that's working. So let me put this on 0. I want to get the text closer, basically. So let's minus, make this 0, and then unlock it, minus, there we go. Around there, 50, I'd say around 60. And we can do the same on the other side, of course. Duplicate that, push that over here, click this, make it in the middle, layout, middle component, align left, and then again, we're going advance and minus 60 on the left, and remove the right minus values completely. And of course, the text here is different. It's good for mind and body. Cool. There we go. And now what we want to do is kind of customize the width of this text so that, we've got this same kind of breakdown over here. That's the same. The way you want to do that is go to the position, responsiveness, and make it custom and choose your width, basically. There we go. So custom width, that's the width we want. I'm going to do the same here. So 288. And on the other side, it looks fine to be honest. And what we could do is just add a bit more, you can say, padding on the top as well. So let's do about 100 pixels, top and bottom. So we've got this nice separation. So this is working pretty nicely, as you can see, guys. We've got, now there's a little cut over here, and remember, because of the download, of course, that would have happened. And again, this is not hard to fix. What we need is just the next section, right? And if we are in we're 4:40. I hope this webinar would run under 1 hour. If you guys want me to do the next section, drop it in the comments, and we can go with the next section as well. So drop in the comments. Do we have time to go for the next section of the website? Next section will basically be the shopping component, which is this one right here. Okay, while the comments come in, I'm gonna at least start to download some of these things. So let me duplicate a, let's duplicate that. And let's copy, boom, 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 and paste that all over here. Let's center these up. Oh, what happened there? Okay, copy and align, center middle, and scale this up, scale this up, scale this up. And of course, what we need to do is resize, looking at 1000 by 1000, I'd say, to make it nice and square. There we go. Okay, there's some little error on my mouse for some reason. Let's refresh this. Whenever you come across an error in Glorify, I do recommend just do a hard refresh. Your work will be saved. Sometimes there could be some little error that, because we're pushing updates all the time, very regularly. If you see our backlog of development stuff that we're pushing out all the time, you'll know why this, there's always little things that can tend to repeat, but nothing that refresh couldn't fix. Yeah, so I'm gonna go to my layers and we'll download them one by one. Download this as a JPEG. Boom. Take that, close this layer up, and download this one as a JPEG. Yep, and close this layer up, and turn off layers, download. Actually, let me just align this first and make sure it's center aligned, center middle, download. There we go. Cool. Okay, let's get this thing up and running. Cool, guys. People are saying, please keep going. So that is my answer. Thanks, guys. So let's just jump straight into it. Let's continue this mission that we're on. So over here, I'm going to remove. I want to make a hard cut at the bottom for the next section so that you don't see this error on the shadow. It's not necessarily an error. It's just that the image cuts short, right? So what I'm going to do is remove zero margin over here. And then over here as well, I'm going to make sure that this entire section has zero margin on the top and bottom. There we go. And so here, and there's this section over here as well that needs to consider having zero margin, zero padding. Now, worst comes to worst, if there still seems to be a little bit of space, this could be, oh yeah, there's 30 pixels padding at the bottom. So I'm going to remove that as well. And now we've got it quite tight. This section here needs to go tighter. So -1, 0 on that, and minus padding 0. So now we've tightened it up completely. So now this next section that will come, we'll start a new section at the bottom here. Here's my new section, and let's start structuring things out. Let's go back into this image to remind myself, okay, what this looks like. So it's quite straightforward. 3 images and 2 layouts, 2 columns over here. Okay, so let's do that. So column number 1, we want to get an intersection side going. So let's add 1 intersection here. And we got 2 columns, and it will duplicate this to start. Oh, not there. Basically duplicate the intersection, not the column. Columns will always duplicate horizontally. Sections will always duplicate vertically. So duplicate that, and then there's my structure. 3, 2 columns. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That's what I need. Now, first things first, this time I want to start a different process. I want to start by downloading the background, right? So we've got a nice base to work from. You can do it any way. You can start with the foreground, work backwards. You can start with the background, work forwards. It really doesn't matter. But in this instance, I just want to try something different. Actually, let me go with the 1.5 size, download that. And let's go and add this image in. So right click, layout, background, and where is this? A background overlay, sorry. So just the background. Grid Classic, click the image, upload files, and we have banner number 1 megabyte. Okay, that's a beast of a banner, but of course, again, I would advise make sure you use image compression. Find any app online. I think it's a no-brainer. 1 megabyte's not massive, but ideally you want to compress your images as much as possible. So here's my section. Now you can see this clean break at the bottom, which doesn't distract and doesn't look like there's this sharp cut on the shadow below the can, right? Now I can start building things in here. So let's first start with the product. So we got this kind of, sometimes instead of going step by step and order by order, I like to just start off with the basic structure, so I can at least materialize the look and feel of it before I start actioning, adding the real content, right? So here in this image, we got the text, the form. So what I can do is just duplicate this, for example, and which will be around the same size font, and add that there. And then this button element, because we do need a button for the form, we add that over there. Now you're starting to see and feel, okay, this piece is coming alive. It gets you motivated, gets you kind of in the flow of things to understand, okay, what this website is starting to look like faster. The faster you can get to that visualization of how things are going to be, the better, because it kind of pumps in, like I said, drive, but also allows you to visualize the actual look and feel. So there we go. I mean, it's really that simple. That didn't take me long. There we go. And of course, we can go ahead and go to style and increase the border radius of this. Not too much. You don't want it to be really soft on the edges. I'd say even less than 10 pixels, like 8 pixels. Once you got my corner done, you can see these rounded corners on here. I'll right click, copy, select every element and just paste it along, right? So there we go. And then you can add shadows and stuff like that if you like. Buttons. Okay, so what we've got here is all natural chilled flavor. Right. And we can increase this. You need philosophy behind your fonts. You got to come up with theory of what font sizes you will consistently use. I'm kind of freestyling it, but you got to think of, okay, your menu items are going to be font 14. Your title hierarchy is always going to be, font a size of 50 plus, your subheadings need to be a certain size. So as long as you got that philosophy behind it, you've going to have a very, very beautiful structure in your website. I'm going to keep to 36 on this piece here. And I'm going to go to this column. This button's left aligned, so I have to go back to the horizontal line and make it go to the end. There also seems to be a lot of padding on here. Let me just remove that. Doesn't seem right at the moment. And it seems centered up at the moment as well. Why is it centered up? Oh, I didn't choose end. I chose center. There we go. So now the button's at the end. We need like a field. I need some text as well. So let me first duplicate this. Make that go at the bottom here and add, I think it's like 20%. How did this thing go? 20% off. Okay. I really want to make sure we do also check out the mobile responsive on this. So I'll try to be as fast as possible. So 20% off, and then on your first order, boom. Needs to say sign up. Sign up. It would be advisable to make sure the call to action for the buy is different color from the sign up to newsletter, because there should be some distinction, but I'm just going to keep it the same color for now. Cool. So let me duplicate that. Okay, and we don't need this to be all caps, so we'll go to the typography and go to just default on your first order. And of course, it doesn't need to be that big. We can go to about a size 14 on here, and we can do a custom width, positioning, inline, custom, and choose this custom width. So we got this nice little stack over here. And over here, we want on the right side a bit of padding. In fact, I'll put about 10 pixels padding across all of these objects. This practice I told you about earlier. Just a safety net is always good to have in padding, just in case, something crushes your component, you still have this natural spacing around it. What I don't like is there seems to be a lot of space underneath here. And this one. Okay, so let me try and here and go to vertical and make it middle. There we go. And remove that. There we go. So that's all centered up. Now we need the button to be full width. Actually, we need a form. So we're not looking for a button really. So let's look for a field or form. On the form, contact form. So it's one of these. I'm just going to add one of them. I don't know which one to add really. But select contact form 1. See what that looks like. Oh, that's too big. Form title. I think this is like basically forms that we've created in the past. So this is not going to be the right one for us, but I haven't used forms on Elementor. Some of our other team members have, but let me see if there's something else that we can use. Contact form 7, gravity forms, WP type form, WeForm form. There's so many different forms. Okay, so let's just try this form here. Hopefully it works. Okay, this seems interesting. We don't need, we just need email. We don't need a message, and we want this side by side technically. Label buttons. Okay, so small, left aligned. Yep, that's what I wanted. And the field, where's the action after send an email? Okay, that looks fine. Email from name, steps, style, field button. Okay, so field. Let's see what we can do here. I wish we had a layout over here. Columns gap, row gap. Okay, that's the row. New form, add items, so email, and no label. Required, yes. Column width 100%. There we go. So 40%. Okay. All right, guys. I don't want to spend too much time on this piece because it does require a bit of customization, it seemed, in the end, that I didn't expect. But email, kind of learning on this part. But what we can do is form fields. Never mind. Nope, that's not going to work for sure. Cool. Okay, you know what I'm going to do is for now, I'm going to just remove the button over here. Let's add a field instead. So yeah, this is that will take me a little bit more time to work out how to do it on side by side. If you guys know, if there's an Elementor expert here, then I'd love to know. Yeah, because this field doesn't seem like it can go on the left. Buttons, hover, border type, message, steps, spacing, active, divider, gap. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's anything that I can see that can make it side by side. Anyway, that looks quite. I'm going to just keep it as a sign up button for now. There we go, and keep it as simple as that. We can increase the column width to about 70%, so we can, on this side at least, 70%, so there's more space here. Actually, nope, let's do it 60. There we go, and that stays 40, and that stays as it is. You can do it like full width if you wanted, but no, we'll keep this. Yeah, so leave that for now. I'm going to put on this piece here, just remove the right side padding. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to go into this section and add about 100 pixels on top and bottom. Sorry, not on padding, because that's going to, as you can see, if you add margin on your section, you're going to get this gap here. And always be aware of that, right? So always try to distinguish between your padding and your margins, right? So margins is kind of outside separation, padding is inside separation. I think this is a bit too much than I wanted. Let's do about 50. There we go. So, and the background I think needs a bit of adjustment. We want the element to be centered, right? So let's go to the section, position, top center. There we go. And we can do size, cover. There we go. So that's what we wanted. Cool. Excellent, guys. Hope that helps. I'm going to just do this last piece underneath this. We should have this call to action as we wanted. Vertical line will be middle. And this needs to be full width on the positioning. Full width. Actually, vertical line, center. There we go. And this style needs to be centered on the content piece. Centered. There we go. So right click, I think it was like £1.99 and 9. Add to cart, right? Something like that. Highlighting a certain amount of text here and making it bold. Duplicate that. There we go, guys. That is the website. Now that I look at these two sections, I feel the gap here is a bit too much. So I'm going to reduce this a little bit just to balance things out a bit more. So we'll do about 50 because the gap here is 50. And so for consistency, it'd be good to have a 50 margin here as well. There we go. So that's much better. Now let's have a look at this. There we go. So here's the website as it is. Okay, so guys, I hope that has been helpful so far. The last piece of this I'm going to spend the next 5 minutes doing is just doing the what do you call it, the mobile responsive. So someone made a comment here, which I appreciate. We should have made the form would have worked if I added, I think, 50%, 50% width. So I appreciate that. Sharing that, guys. So whoever here is an expert, I think next time you need to help me do a tutorial live on Glorify would be awesome. I can't see your name because on my dashboard in Live Studios Restream is not showing it to me. But I can see someone made a comment on 50%, 50% for the width of the form, and that will solve that issue we were going through earlier. But we've got our website ready now. Last but not least, I just want to quickly just double check mobile responsive. If you look, honestly speaking, I prefer to work from desktop and then go down to mobile. Tablet and mobile. Okay, some people like to go the opposite way. I've honestly never been able to do that, and I haven't met many people that starts mobile, goes to desktop. Apparently, mobile first responsiveness is very important, but I like to start from desktop, and then definitely I with having top priority on mobile because most people are going to look at it on the mobile responsive. But the best way to structure it is start desktop and then go downwards because it allows you to really understand and visualize how the mobile responsive look is going to look and feel by structuring the desktop version first. And you'll see what I mean. So from desktop, we'll go to tablet. And remember the margins I gave earlier looks good. But of course, there's a lot of problems going on here. So starting with font size. Now I'm going to reduce the font size here to about 12 here. And this can reduce in size so go to style and make the smaller width. And in fact, I want to reduce the right, I think the right pad, left margin. Sorry, not left margin, left padding. So left. Okay, that is strange. So let me just go back to desktop, see what I remember doing here for this to work was minus 60 on the margin. That's what I did. So so let's do the same here. So remember, if you change anything on Elementor, on mobile, or the other responsiveness, it won't change anything in your final design. Just remember that. That's really, really important, right? It goes safe to say that it's super important, right? There we go. And what we can do is increase it a bit. Decrease it a bit. So let's do 200. There we go. We've got a bit of padding now. And then make these the same font size. So I would do, don't copy that because you'll copy the rest of the style in it. So I'm going to go to here, 12, and copy, paste this, and paste that. Reduce the size here to what exactly I need. There we go. That's the max I need, about 35 or even less, about 30, just about right. And then here we can go to about 50. This can be reduced much more. So 50, 30, 20. Trying to count my fingers here. And yeah, and so over here, what we got to do is go to the button and reduce the font size on the button as well. Let's make it 12 and go to the style. And I would reduce the padding here and increase about 10 pixels around the button. This one can be reduced in size. Yeah. And it still doesn't fit in this one column. So I'm going to have to reduce this a little bit to accommodate. There we go. And there we go. So that's now moved up. This text needs to scale down, as you guys can see. So reduce the size here. And of course, it doesn't need that much gap anymore. So again, I think was, there we go. And what we need is, yeah, so minus 30. 5, put 0 on the top, 0 on the bottom, and 0 on the left. And now what we could do is reduce the size even more so that we got a nice little structure there. And what I'll do is copy that, paste it over here. But at the same time, I need to switch over the minus value. So it'll be not minus 35 on the right, but minus 35 on the left. And of course, it needs to be left aligned, this text. There we go. So that's kind of pretty much complete. Because the structure isn't great, I need to, again, go to the positioning, I think it was. Okay, this is on default, which is fine. I think to really make the structure of this, the text look better, I would reduce the size just a little bit more. There we go. And make the same here. So 35. There we go. But still, this one's got not on 3 lines. So it has to be about 30 now. So let's see what this looks like at 30. There we go. So that looks much better. Same here. Let's go down, reduce the font size. Just make it the same font size as this at 30. So on tablet, you want to make it this for consistency. We want to make it 30. And here we can go much smaller. We can go like 16 on these little sub pieces, or actually make it a bit more like 24 if we had a subheading component. And we can make this one about 12. We can structure this a bit more custom. So we can go to custom width and have a very specific structure here. There we go. So that looks better. And we can do vertical line, horizontal line start. Yeah. Or I mean, end as well, it's fine. But yeah, the main point here is that we need to, of course, work out that thing that we didn't work out, which is the form aspect, right? But anyway, that's how it would look generally. Here, again, I would go to the buy button and copy the same style for these so that it looks consistent. Boom, right click, paste, paste, paste style, right? So everything looks same. Now, if I look at this is how tablet would look. I think it looks great. Do you guys agree? Does it look great? And finally, we'll do mobile. So mobile is going to be interesting because it's always going to be messy in mobile. Usually when you're making a top menu, you'll be using this kind of menu element. I didn't have time to go into the menu element. It requires a bit more deeper tutorial, but I would say that you don't want to show any of the menu items in your mobile responsiveness. You just need a burger menu, right? And you hide the elements there. So in the event of this one, what I'm going to do is basically just click these and simply go to positioning, mobile responsiveness, and hide on mobile, hide on tablet, and do the right click and copy this and do the same for these. These can stay the same. We can go to the section and we can go to vertical line and make it middle, and horizontal line, horizontal align center. And the same for the button component here, horizontal line center, right? And yeah, and what we could also do is maybe you don't even need to see this, because the buy button in a mobile, you don't want to see the buy button as soon as you see the logo, right? So what we can do is hide this section entirely. Go to responsive, hide on desktop, hide on tablet. Wait a minute, did I hide this on mobile? Oh, sorry, yeah. Hide on mobile, hide on tablet, sorry. Actually, not hide on tablet. I don't know why I hid it on tablet. Let me just do that because tablet was working perfectly fine. Paste. Again, here, what we got to do is reset all these positionings. So remember, anything you do here on mobile won't affect tablet and won't affect desktop, right? So you have to remember that. And then there we go. And what we should do as well here is, yeah, so this one, what we want to do is, I would hide this responsiveness, hide on mobile, duplicate that, and move another version on the top. Well, actually, not this one. Let's not duplicate this. Let's delete that. Let's duplicate this one. And the sentence is good for mind, body, and planet, right? So good for mind, body, and planet, right? So there we go. What we could do is maybe do like a cool color on here to kind of differentiate the two texts. So let me just pick something a bit more turquoisey and darker. Oh, it would be so cool if they had, this kind of color picker, but we don't have a color picker on here. We can go here, reduce the font size a bit more to about 26. 24 is fine. Same here. Oh, I lost the color. Let me just undo that and just do 24 it was, yeah. So there we go. That looks great. And now same thing here. Let's do vertical line center, vertical line middle, center, right? And this one, what we can do is go and center this up. Yeah, these bits need a bit of work. What I would do is reduce the font size, maybe. Let's go to positioning, custom width. There we go. So that's what I was hoping, just to stack these things together. The background's kind of getting in the way of this text, but we could fix that, but I'm going to avoid doing that for now. Make this, yep. And just simply do about 5 pixels on right and left so we can separate it from the buttons. That will look something like that. And then we just have our products. There we go. And actually, this needs to be centered up. So go to the center and vertical line middle, horizontal line center, vertical line middle, and horizontal. Well, it was actually horizontal line center is the one. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. There you go. There's the mobile responsive. Tenzing, natural for energy from plants. The top fold title. There's the can. There's a bit of a cut here. We can fix that in a moment. There's the form that we failed to make, but again, you got the structure here. And the product images, right? Now, of course, we can adjust this background as well a bit more. So, what we could do is go to the style of the background in the section and simply do top center. And we can do like no repeat and cover or contain. No, so it would have to be cover. Let's see what order looks like. Does this show more blue or default? No, so I would go for cover, but maybe we got to do bottom for this one. Bottom center. Okay, it didn't change much. So we're going to leave that for now. It requires maybe a different background in this section, but you guys get the point. That how it would impact the text. You can change the text color. You can duplicate the section, hide it on desktop, tablet, and then change the background, right? So there's so many different options that you can do. With that said, we've pretty much covered everything. There was just this issue here where we're getting a bit of gap between that, and the way you fix that is just minus the margins and the padding over here. But it would require maybe some experimenting with minus paddings and stuff like that. But once you've done it, it should eventually stick, right? One other way that I would try is even go on the minus zone with the margins here and see how close we can get it. So a little bit further, we can go to 15, even a bit more, about 20. There we go. Cool, guys. Okay, so let's review everything. Let's start from the top. So we did desktop. Okay, this change. Why did that change? Oh, it's because I think I copied the style earlier. So let me just quickly fix that. So this would have been left aligned, and on the minus value would have been minus something like, I can't remember what it was. It was something like minus. I don't know what happened there, guys. We just kind of lost that. Oh, that's because, okay, I get it. So minus is got to be minus left. So 160, I think it was. Less than that, 130, 40, 50, 20. There we go. So something like that. And this needed to be hidden, actually. So we just had a couple of last pieces that we forgot to miss, that we missed out. So this should be hidden on desktop and hidden on tablet. So this would look like this, right? And furthermore, there was some adjustments that we did earlier on this, that positioning needs to be custom. And around that much, there we go. So now, there we go. So that's what it's meant to look like. So like I said, CSS, you could do some stuff to customize, do dual text color, just a very small CSS tweak. We'll try to find the code for you and copy it on the comment section, but it's a very minor thing. There's plenty of different forms on Elementor, and depending on what web builder you use, you got to use their kind of in-app form for that. But this is how generally you structure and download your images from Glorify and upload it using padding, using margin, using basic layout techniques to structure your entire website. Then you can start focusing on the tidbits like functionality and all those kind of things. And obviously, we didn't want to get bogged down with those things in this demonstration. And finally, we can go down to tablet, see what that looks like. Here's your tablet version, pretty seamless. And then from here, we can go to, that's history, go to mobile. And there's your mobile responsive version. Hope that helped, guys. Thanks a lot for being with us. Just hit 5:14. I was hoping that this webinar would be less than 45 minutes, but I got a bit ambitious towards the end by adding that new section. And I always tend to find myself catching myself getting a bit ambitious on webinars. Next week, Nico will be on board. And as you know, Nico is phenomenally great at creating step-by-step processes that you can implement in a few moments. And the best part about Nico's webinars is that they're short, sweet, and very impactful. So I'm really excited about next week's webinar. Make sure you're there. And we're going to do these webinars regularly. Of course, if you're new here, we're doing webinars every week, and we're going to be focusing on a different topic each week, and including as we roll out new features and roll out new areas of the application, we'll also demonstrate those as they roll out on those weekly webinars, right? So something that you guys do need to think about is, some of the amazing updates that we're coming up with really soon. So, of course, in this demo, we had to do certain techniques like, duplicate pages, copy, paste, remove, hide layers and stuff like that. But something really exciting is that very soon you won't have to do any of that when you're downloading your web images. We're going to create a download widget. So in the download widget, you'll be able to simply select a layer in your canvas, go to download, choose the layers that you want to download and download them all separately or all in bulk. You can crop to fit or keep it to the same size of your canvas. So those things are going to be really, really, really powerful for your web design abilities, because you don't have to worry about duplicating in designs. Like I said, copying. Exactly what we did here: hiding layers, duplicating layers, changing canvas sizes. You can literally stick to your same design, select the layer you want to download, and download it, crop to fit, or just on the size of the canvas. Those kind of features are really exciting. And we're going to keep implementing and bringing out better and better tweaks. There's a range of improvement sprint we're doing on the next 1 to 2 months. And by March, we're going to have this enormous improvement on the editor tool, even just down to like some of our algorithms on alignment, smart guides, and stuff like that, true font weights, and more. So really excited about that. I hope you guys are too. We shall catch you guys in the near future. I hope this was valuable. Drop some comments, drop your feedbacks, and just share this around and share your thoughts. I'll catch up with you guys soon. Take care.